Welcome to Comic Con at Home. I'm Jazz Tangcay, Senior Artisans Editor at Variety, and I am so thrilled to be here today. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in for our panel, wherever you are. And the panel today is titled Black Excellence Behind the Camera in Film and TV. And without further ado, I am thrilled to welcome our fantastic panelists. We have Queen Sugar Executive Producer Anthony Sparks, Emmy-winning hairstylist Araxi Lindsey, the Me You Can't See director and producer Dawn Porter, Farewell Amor director Ekwa Msangi, writer and producer The Good Lord Bird Erika Johnson, and writer for The Underground Railroad Jihan Crowther. And also we have founder of Red Rhino Trailers and personal hairstylist to Will Smith, Pierce Austin. Hello and welcome to you all.
Hello, thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
No, thank you all for being here. I mean, I suggest what everybody needs to do tuning in is go away and look at their incredible resumes and body of work, the incredible talent that you have before you. Seek it out and you will go down this fantastic rabbit hole. But I'm going to start with the first question of, you are all living, breathing examples of Black excellence. What does Black excellence mean to you? And Anthony, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, wow. Okay. Excellent. Black excellence means a lot of things, but what it mostly means to me is that we are people who commit to being on a journey in entertainment and arts, and that we get up every day and we do our best that we can do that day to move the ball forward in our artistry, in our craft, in our careers. And I say that on purpose in that order, not career before artistry and craft, but artistry and craft before career. And hopefully our careers can then be an expression of our artistry and our craft. So Black excellence means that you take your artistry seriously, your craft seriously, and you take your possibilities seriously. And then hopefully you get to see what many of us, all of us here on this panel, are an example of that. We're an example of commitment to craft, commitment to being persistent, and commitment to getting back up again. As many wonderful credits as we all have, we have experienced, I'm sure all of us, a lot more no's than we have yeses. So the career ends up being, 1 to 2 to 10 to 15 yeses that we got out of hundreds of no's. So Black excellence to me always means that we embody the possibility of possibilities by getting up every day and applying our artistry and our craft to the best way that we know how at that particular time.
Amazing.
Well said.
Dawn, what is? Let's give you a round of applause, Anthony.
Oh.
Dawn, what does Black What a way to kick off. Dawn, what does Black excellence mean to you?
I love what Anthony has just said, and after I had the luxury of having a minute to think about it, and what I was thinking is, and I wore my John Lewis t-shirt because when I think about Mr. Lewis, who was a big Comic-Con fan and participant, what I think about is a person who had to imagine something he could not see. He had to imagine equality. He was the man who lived during the time of Emmett Till. And I think I never want to speak for anybody, but to some extent we have to get out of our own way in terms of not listening to some of the negative, stereotypes around us. And so I really respond to what Anthony's saying about it is persistence, but commitment. And I think that the only thing I could possibly add to that is commitment to yourself, because I think that, it's you can take advice, you should take advice, you should listen to the people around you, but ultimately, you know what you're capable of, and you've got to, find that fortitude to let that come through. And that's, I think that's embodied in what Anthony's saying, which I just respond very strongly to.
I love that. And if we were at a stage on Comic-Con, you would also get a round of applause for your answer. Ekwa, Black excellence, what does that mean?
I love what both Anthony and Don said, and I add to that, especially like what Don was saying about getting out of your own way. I feel like, to me, Black excellence has to do with that. It's like who we are. It's our natural, authentic
Absolutely.
state. It's who we are as Black people, and oftentimes there are things that get in the way. There's rent, there's problems, there's bills, there's whatever. And we have little moments, sometimes larger moments, depending on your resources and your support, where you can kind of be in a zone where you're fully like uninhabitably just able to authentically be you. And so I feel like it's a place where I'm at least as an artist constantly trying to get and to arrange my life and my living space so that it will support that. And so that I can support that for the people around me, so that as a collective, we're able to be ourselves.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pierce, what
Yes.
is Black excellence to you?
I was asked this question yesterday, and the first thing I thought was, well, Black is a given. So that's just like Ekwa was saying, that's just who we are, it's who I am. So it's our excellence. And if I could echo again, it is, as an artist, the ability to surrender to the craft and to a greater cause. When I'm seeking excellence, I have to get out of my own way, like previously said, and speak to the end goal of the experience for the patrons of the industry, for the people who come see our art on the silver screen or on the television or in a book or just in life. So when I'm able to settle myself and have that conversation in text of the future, the end goal, and creating something that is understandable and likable, that exceeds not just what others do or what others may think and what we may think of ourselves, it has to exceed all of that to the point that is recognizable as something that is unobtainable by anyone else and most understandable and appreciated by us and our culture.
Araxi?
Black excellence for me is marrying positive images and for our youth, and actually being a reflection of what others could be. So you have some people who are inspiring to be a part of our craft or a part of our community for motion picture and film. And you have others that just want to see someone that's winning, to actually look at someone that's not doing the stereotypical things, and they're looking for just someone in a positive light. I think that, to me, that is a form of Black excellence. It's like, okay, this is who I'm aspiring to be. This is a person who I could admire, someone that will encourage me to do more. There is a faith system. There is someone that's out there that looks like me. So lifting those behind us is what I see as Black excellence.
Nice.
Jihan, what about for you? What is Black excellence?
Me, these are also such wonderful answers. And I think when I think about it, I think about just the resilience, how hard you have to work and how much better you have to be to sort of get kind of like, at least for writing, like that first job, and not allowing that to crush you, really, and just sort of keep moving forward. And I think some of it too is just the understanding that you are committed to your work, and you wake up every day doing the best you can, and that only you can sort of tell the stories or create the work that you are doing, and really kind of standing behind that. And I think it's also understanding that you're part of a history, like a continuation of people who've done incredible work before you, and you just want to sort of take the baton and run as hard as you can for the next sort of people in line. And even just as far as like, you know, reaching back, I think that's so much of it. Because it's just, there's no, like, you alone at the top is nonsense, you know, like there's just not, like, who cares? So it's like you want to be surrounded with other people who are also, like, my friends and I are always saying, like, we just always want to be doing good work with good people, and that's just like the mantra for us. And it's just, and how you do that is to bring people with you. And I think all of those things feel like what Black excellence is for me.
I love that. And Erika, what does Black excellence mean to you?
I mean, honestly, you guys really have said it all. I think the only thing I would emphasize for me is just walking in my purpose. I think that through my journey, being in this business for so long, it can beat you down. You can kind of lose your way. You can question yourself. You don't necessarily get the validation or see your worth or see the value in stories told by us for us. So I think it really is just knowing your truth, getting up every day, fighting for that, and knowing that it will pay off at a certain point. And you know, everyone touched on this, but it's also just, it's thinking in terms, for me, it's thinking in terms that are not just about myself. Everything that I do in front, you know, in the workplace or even in my personal life is a community mindset. I don't want to just do it for myself. I'm always thinking about my people, and I'm always thinking about, you know, how can we help lift each other up? How can I help open doors for other people? I mean, it's Jihan said it, you know, you want to work with good people. I want to work with good people who are my people. You know, I want to work with people that look like me in premium cable spaces. I want to work on shows with big budgets and see characters that look like me, you know. So yeah, Black excellence to me is it's choices, it's options, it's walking in your purpose, and it's doing it even in the face of fear, even when people are saying no. And it's, you know, it's constantly getting up every day, pushing back.
I'm about to write that down, Erika.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fearless.
Don't give me the Black budget. Give me the budget.
Give me the budget. Yeah.
My gosh,
That's
is
real talk.
excellence. That needs to be like blown up somewhere. Like everybody needs to have that on their walls. I mean, I want to go back to something, you know, Anthony touched on, Jihan, you've all touched on it, about the resilience of getting back up again, getting those no's, and yet here you all are, you know, making strides, shattering ceilings. Who wants to share, like, you know, who wants to share the no's that you had and getting past that?
I have a quick story that was pivotal in my career. We were filming and prepping for the movie Ali, where Will Smith was playing Muhammad Ali for 10 years of his life, and Michael Mann was the director. And I came in just as a green hairstylist, thinking I knew what I knew. And I gave him all the looks and all the effort without doing an ounce of research that was like real study. I just looked at some pictures, you know, and just came up with my own look. Well, Michael Mann fired me. And this story isn't openly shared, but Michael Mann fired me within the first couple of weeks of prep for that movie. And Will had my back, but he told me, he said, you have to do the work. You have to do the work. You have to be prepared. You have to know your craft and become a storyteller. So at that point, I went to the Warner Brothers library, and I studied film of the era, and I studied culture of the era, and I studied regions and everything I can get my hand on, related and not related. So 2 weeks came back, I put together a book with notes, sketches, and photographs and references, and a plan and a storyline of how I was going to present Will as Muhammad Ali, and then age him with techniques throughout the years and be able to go back and forth with the character. And Michael finally said he would agree to have a meeting with me. And let's say my appointment was at noon. I sat literally by his office door right here, waiting for him. And I could see him in the office. I could see him and he would come out and walk right past me. And I sat there for probably 4 or 5 hours until he realized that I wasn't going anywhere. And that's my story of being resilient and bouncing back. And I ended up being rehired, and I finished the job. And subsequently, I met my wife in Mozambique, and we married later and had family care. And I have a career like I'm with you. But that's my story, bouncing back.
You won all the way around.
Amazing! Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy.
Winner.
Thank you, Roxy.
Wow.
Hey, I was about to give some kudos to Pierce. I had a bounce back. I started off in this business as Jada Pinkett Smith's personal hairstylist for about 10 years back in '99. And I'm working alongside Pierce doing The Beautiful Couple. And I worked on all the projects for Jada during that time. And I think it was 2008, I guess. I opened up a salon in Santa Clarita, and things were moving for me. And I was on my second child, and I got the call to do Jada's hair for Hawthorne. I was like, Jada's doing a pilot, Hawthorne. She wants you to department head, but they want you to do it for a favor, right? I don't know favors. I'm in my 20s. I started like 2021. And I'm like, yo, I'm pregnant. I have a 8-chair salon. I'm trying to convince people to move from freaking San Diego to Valencia to get their hair done. I can't do favors on a pilot for 10 days. Like, it's impossible. I'm not going to be able to do it. My bills are X amount of dollars. It's impossible. And they were on me for maybe 2 weeks. Even the union called and was like, Araxi, are you sure you don't want to do this? Are you sure you're telling the Smiths no? You're telling the Smiths no. That's what you're doing. I was like, yeah, I'm about to have another baby. I got this, I got that. They have to understand family first. I'm a family person, 150%. So I said no, kept saying no. Everyone called. So she shipped someone out from New York. That person got the job. Usually working with the Smiths, you get a gift. So I realized I didn't get my gift that Christmas. So I was like, dang, I'm out the circle. I was like, well, what you gonna do?
By the way, they give really good gifts too. I ain't gonna
good gifts.
And when you don't get that gift, I
was out the circle. So I was like, whatever. I got my baby coming. I have this, I have that, what else? And even at that time, I cut my hair. I had locks, shaved them things off, and just started my life over. And I was still working in the hair salon too. I'm in the parking lot, going up to the hair salon. Pierce randomly sees me downstairs, but doesn't know it's me because I have a buzz cut. And he goes, Roxy, what you doing
over
out
in
here?
North Hollywood.
In North Hollywood.
Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And I was like, I'm going to the salon. He was like, yo, we need you. Motion picture needs you. Like, what's going on? What you doing? I said, nothing. Mothering, working in the salon, just doing whatever comes. He said, I got you. He asked me if I knew 2 people. I said no. He linked me up with those 2 people, and that's how I got into TV. And started working on Southland and The Closer and all these other detective shows. But if it wasn't for Pierce, or for God actually, and the universe lining us up underneath in a parking garage, it wouldn't have happened. So that was my low. And I actually had an appreciation for the finances that I was receiving from them, and the traveling and all the accolades that I didn't know anything about, but I still wouldn't change it. I still wouldn't say, no, I'm going to have this baby and do this. I still would have stayed exactly with how it was, but God had allowed Pierce to come and put me on the TV, and we ended up working back with the Smiths and saw her again.
Yes, we ended up doing a movie together, didn't we?
Yep.
And
And
you
I
came
have.
and
Did you
killed
get
it.
a gift?
Yes. Mhm.
You know
But then,
what? Pierce was my gift. I didn't get another gift. Them gifts, I don't have those gifts no more. But I still have them in a special stash for my daughter.
thank
But
you,
those gifts,
Roxy.
nah.
I
Thank
forgot
you.
about that moment. Actually, I forgot. And didn't your salon get broken into, or
My salon was
burnt
that's
down?
another get up and
Yeah.
come back again. It was an arson.
Yeah.
That's another story though.
That's
Y'all
right.
lost
That's right.
everything.
Yeah. And then we did After Earth together.
We did After
and
Earth.
then
M.
and
Night
then you went on
Shyamalan.
and yes, and then you went on and won an award on me. I still ain't getting no
Oh.
credit. You got that
That was the
Emmy.
gift.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank
Well
you.
deserved.
God.
Well deserved. Yes.
So yeah,
Who-
that's my get down and pick up.
Anybody else with a resilience and no story and how you came back? I think people want to hear the inspiration.
I'll share my story. So I started out as a writer's assistant on Lost, and through Lost, I got into the ABC writing program, which is how I got staffed on Ugly Betty. So I was on Betty for 2 seasons, season 3, season 4, and silly of me, I thought that once you get your first writing job, like, oh, everybody knows I can write now, so I should be in, like, I'm good. And I was at a big agency, and I knew Betty was coming to an end, and all the writers on Betty were like co-EPs and EPs. So they had been working for a very long time. Nobody was Black but me. So a lot of times they would say to me like, oh, it'll be easy for you to get a job. Like, you're not gonna have an issue at all. And I was like, it's gonna be easy, like, just naive, just so Betty comes to an end. I have a script, and I was talking to my agent as the show is over, which was mistake number 1. The show ends, and it's like, well, what's our plan? What's our strategy? And there was no plan. And this is when I realized that I had a bad agent, even though I was at a huge agency and he would take me to dinners and we would go for drinks. I was working at the time. And so when I wasn't working, I woke up very quickly, and I realized very quickly that, oh, he's not really looking out for me. And so I didn't work for 2 years after Ugly Betty. So I didn't think, like, my momentum stopped. I didn't think that I was going to get back in the game. I really didn't know anybody in the business, and it was extremely depressing, extremely hard. So I kept writing, and it was, 2 years later, I used to work as an assistant at MTV Films, and one of our execs, Laretha Jones, became president of BET, and her assistant was like a big sister to me. Her assistant became her SVP of development, and she called me and said, we're doing scripted shows and you should come meet for Being Mary Jane. But before you meet, you might want to get rid of your rep, because so they don't get any money on that. So I met with Mara, I got the job, and that is how I got back in. But so for me, it comes down to relationships. I knew like 3 people in the business, maybe up until 3 years ago, I knew like 3 people in the business. And those 3 people have kind of helped me move through and continue to work. And so I would say any job that you get, you got to make yourself look good, but also the person that's referring you. So Laretha knew me as an assistant, made sure I got back in as a writer. And then I made sure to make sure that she and Charlie looked good as I went into that writer's room. And, anything that I was doing on that show, I knew it wasn't just a reflection of me, it's the people that were vouching for me. So that's how I got back in the game. But I was on the sidelines for a while, and I didn't know, really didn't know if I was going to be a writer again. I mean, I kept writing with that in mind, but you just don't know. So I would say, never take any relationship for granted. And I could lead a whole series on how to interview agents now. It was a hard
Yeah,
Definitely hard.
I like to jump, and I would love to hear how you interview agents, because I know that you don't play, Erika, and I take lessons from you as well. We had the privilege of working together for a season. I'll share an experience that I'm not sure I've actually told anyone.
We'll let it be known.
And I've told a lot of tough stories and good stories, because I've had both incredible experiences in this business, and then I've had those moments where you go, am I done? Or do I want to be done? Or am I going to let somebody tell me that I'm done? And those you will have gut check, who are you moments in this business. So similar to Erika, years ago, my first staffing job, I do very well on the job by all accounts, but I didn't quite understand what Erika was talking about, the building of relationships and things like that. And I had built some relationships on that staff, but I'm still a staff writer. So, you're the last hired, you're a Black staff writer. So you're definitely the last hired, first fired potentially. And I, by the end of my first staff writing year, my wife and I have our first child. A month after, that show was unexpectedly canceled, and I realized I did not have great representation at that time either, and didn't really have any opportunities, and ended up being out of the game, ended up changing agents because some executives didn't know why. They were like, "You've done everything right. We believe in you. We hear you, this and that." And they suddenly got my phone ringing when I wasn't working, agents calling me at home going, "We hear you should be working. You're not. We think you're underrepresented." So anyway, I did end up with upgrading my representation at that time, but it still was a slog trying to get that second job. A lot of people talk about that first job. You got to start working on that second job as soon as you get that first job, because because now you're a line item in the budget. But you're still relatively inexperienced even after a season, especially today where people be doing 6 episodes and calling it a season. At least back then I had 22 episodes under my belt after a season. Long story short, I decided after about, between 9 and 12 months of not being able to make anything happen, that I would enter into the fellowships again. And at that time, the idea that you had been staffed and would apply for the ABC Disney Fellowship or the Warner Brothers Fellowship was unheard of. It's not anymore, but at that time it was unheard of. But I quickly humbled myself and very quickly went, clearly this credit that I have is not opening the doors that I thought it was going to open. So am I going to try and be mad about it and ride this credit and be 5 years from now still not staffed on a show talking about how I was done wrong that one time? Or am I going to go, I guess I got to start over, and I'm looking for health insurance. I'm looking for an income. I got this screaming baby in my hand, and I did what I got to do. And I say that as if that's easy. I mean, it's like 2,000 people apply for the ABC Disney Fellowship. So there was no guarantee that you're going to wash out even as a professional. Anyway, I do get into the fellowship. Long story short, the president of ABC Family at that time comes to talk to us, and I had interviewed for a job on a show, had met on a job for a show called Lincoln Heights, did not get the job. I was told it had something to do with budget, and I just felt that this show was so perfect for me. He came in to talk to us as fellows, to just sort of talk about what they had going on at ABC Family. And then he left, and I got up and I very non-creepily followed him.
Non-creepily.
Okay. And he got into the elevator and he was waiting for the elevator. And I was like, thank you very much. And I don't know where at this time God gave me the nerve. And I literally told the president of this network that he needed me on this show. And that I had met on the show, and that he needed me on the show, that I was a great fit for this show. I've not told hardly anybody this because poor executives now at elevators are in trouble. I didn't know what was going to happen after that, but I'm not scary. I'm just like, hey, passion. Unbeknownst to me, he was kind of like, this is interesting, and made phone calls on me. I gave him my name. Anyway, long story short, I ended up getting a meeting for that show about a week later. And that turned into a 4-season job.
Wow.
Okay. And
Congratulations.
that is the show that I became a producer on. And, obviously there were lots of twists and turns and things like that, and ups and downs even within that journey. But that was an example of some bounce back. And I've had to have a couple of more bounce backs. I won't, take up any more time. But it is, but I guess the thing is not only, but I was able to deliver on my talk, and I became very valuable, even as a staff writer, to that showrunner who was Kathleen McGee Anderson, who really poured into me and trained me for real, which doesn't happen a lot today, how to not only be a TV writer, but how to be a TV producer. And so by the time I got to the point where I could be a showrunner, I had a fairly good idea what I was doing, actually, and I'm very happy and proud of that. And the people talk about passing the baton. I was a beneficiary of someone passing the baton of knowledge and investing in me and next to me on set going, it looks like you're hanging out on set. You are not hanging out on set. You are looking at this, you are looking at that, you are looking at this script. And while you're smiling and looking like you're just hanging out, and that's not what you're doing. And so I, am very appreciative of all of those people who have paved the road, and to my mama, who apparently gave me a lot of backbone, to approach, president of a network and be like, you slipping because you didn't hire me.
How many times you heard a closed mouth doesn't get fed?
Right.
It's really inspiring.
Oh
open your mouth when you don't think about it.
But also what you're pointing to is you didn't let that no derail you.
Yeah.
And I think that can happen very quickly because we don't, first of all, great that everybody here is an overachiever, but at times, you don't get a second chance all the time if you look like us. So, it's like make it or it doesn't happen, and make it great. So, my story is a little different because I was a lawyer before I was a filmmaker, and I was working at ABC, and I was watching all of you all get all the work, all the fellowships, and then I worked at A&E Television, and I was just I'll tell you what really happened. I was always putting my hand up to be on the diversity committee. We're always putting our hands up, like, to do extra work for no pay and no appreciation. And, I'm watching all the shows on A&E, and I'm like, where's your shows with Black people? Like, I'm like, these are like, why is there no Black people on A&E? Like, there's just nobody until February, And so I was on this committee, and they were like, oh, well, they're like, truth telling, Black people don't watch A&E. And I was like, But because I'm a lawyer, I went to research, and I was like, I was wondering if you do like demographic research. And they're like, yes, we do. Because if you go to research, nobody comes to talk to them. So they will tell you everything. So I was like, could you do a report for me? And they were like, absolutely. They don't know who I am. I'm just curious about, like, turns out Black people oversample on A&E, which means more people, in relation to the population, watch A&E television. So I go back to my little committee, and they were like, oh, that's great news. Then we don't have to do anything because we're doing everything right. So I was like, basically, there's no avenue under which you will. And it just was this light bulb moment for me that, like, I can't keep doing this. I can't make other people's dreams come true. So I had been networking and relationships and understanding the business because I was insecure about my performance as an artist, but I understood the business. And I thought, well, you can go in through the front and be a crackerjack artist, or you can understand the business and understand how to give them what they want. And then, it'll come. So that was the path I was following. So I would tell everybody that I would do anything. I would produce anything. Like, if I met you in the supermarket, I'm like, hey, Erika, what you doing, girl? Yeah, you know what? I'm producing now, and I can do anything. And I just would tell people this forever. And finally, one of my friends was Food Network, she was tired of hearing me beg. And she said, all right, at the end of every season, particularly in cable, they have use or lose it money. And if they don't spend it, the budget goes away. This is why it's good to know the system. So she was like, I don't have anything and I have this pot of money. And I was like, I'll do it. I didn't even know what she wanted me to do. I was like, I'll do it. So she gives me a chance. Long story short, I did a chefography. It was a biography of Chef Alexandra Guarnaschelli. But I didn't know what not to do. So I did it the way I wanted to. I took her out of the studio. She was always very glamorous and made up. I took her out of that. I took her to her high school. I made her cook with her mother. Everybody who is with their mother acts like they're 12 because, her mother was the editor of the Joy of Cooking, and her daughter became a chef. So they're cooking together, and the mother says, "Don't oversalt. I know you lived in France." And she's like, Ma, like she's cooked in Michelin restaurants. So they're magic together. They're great together. We do the show, It all goes really well. What I didn't have experience with was post and finishing. So we're in delivery, and it turned out the wrong file had gotten delivered to the post house. And so around 12 at night, I start getting these messages saying something's wrong, something's wrong. Long story short, there's this problem, and it's a union house. They're like, well, we're going home. Sorry, we can't deliver. And I'm at home, and I had killed myself making a good show that was airable and And I was like, I can't believe, because of this technical stuff, I'm going to have to go tell them I failed. Like, I'm not going to deliver on time. And so part of our support is our family. So my husband was with me. We lived in New Jersey at the time. We were in Montclair. The post house is in New York City. It was 1 a.m. And I go upstairs. I literally got in the bed and I pulled the covers over my head. And I was like, I can't fake my way through this. I don't know how to get through this. Like, I don't know how to do this. And he goes, oh, no. We are not accepting, no, they won't turn the machines back on. And he got in the car and he drove to New York City and he banged on the door. He made them open the door. There's this, mild-mannered Black lawyer. He's like, I think you're working on my wife's show. Something's the matter? What's the matter? And I don't know what he did because I was at home with the covers over my head. And at 6 a.m, he comes back and he goes, here's your tape. And I don't know what he did. But sometimes I had given myself to the whole production and I just didn't have anything left. And so I had to count on my partner to give me that other little thing. And then that said to me, he believed in me. And, I'll never forget that. And we delivered the show, it was on time. It was good. And I just was like, all right, I could do this. I won't make that mistake again. And you just kind of push through, and you're going to make mistakes, but try not to make the same mistakes. That's the thing that I took from that, is not that I know everything now, but I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to have a good post supervisor who's going to check stuff.
I mean, what a great team story too. Amazing. I love that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Let's, we talk about the passing of the baton, the opening doors, and you've had doors closed on you because of the way the system works. And I think, as Dawn says, you have to know the system. And a lot of it is, I'm going to hire my friend with little to no experience over somebody who has experience. I mean, how can now that, you're all doing what you do, like, how can you open the doors and help pass the baton for people coming up after you? Like, what are different things that you're doing? Talk about that and share, because I think, again, that's something that people would love to hear. Go for it, Ekwa.
I think, as we were talking about Black excellence in the beginning, we're a resilient people, and we're a people who have probably had most of our lives had doors closed and opportunities denied in every way, shape, and form. And we've always found a way. Like, we've always made our own little thing, made our own little style, created our own. And then before you know it, then folks are like, hey, that's kind of cool. I want to come do what you're doing. And I think it's no different in film and TV, where, there is sort of the film school, for example, 15 years ago, we learned on celluloid, and all my professors and everyone before me had learned the same way of making film. And it cost a certain amount, and you needed a certain kind of people. And there was just a way to do it that was very rigid and very expensive and very difficult to get in, because if you didn't have I mean, I remember at that time, like a low budget was $3 to $5 million, low to the point where people would be like, oh, I'm so sorry, girl. That's how are you going to do that? 3 to 5, like, girl, you shouldn't even be talking about, that was tiny. And then like after the housing crash, you needed to be working with Will Smith to have something that was $1 million, because like you needed to justify that kind of amount, and everyone had to start thinking about new ways of making film. But also that's when digital became an actual like viable option. And from the time that, I mean, I had to relearn everything after film school, because literally by the time I graduated, all the machines that I had learned on no longer existed. And so we had to figure that out. And it's expensive to do that. To be a director, you have to have other people work with you. You can't just work by yourself in the basement. So it's taken a long time. A lot of the people that I went to school with, it's taken a while to get to where we've gotten to. But with digital and with digital, with Kickstarter, crowdfunding, and with people, with our communities, when we've created like little communities of like, hey, you're an actor, you're not getting cast on stuff, you're a writer, nobody's picking up your stuff. Why don't we work together? Why don't we make this thing, put it on YouTube, get all our friends to watch it, get all our aunties to celebrate it, get all our, form our little thing, and before you know it, and even if it doesn't win awards and do all those things, because that's the other sort of myth that I think a lot of us, especially if you went through an institution, the myth is that if you don't get into Sundance or Cannes or something, then you're probably not that talented, and that's not true. I had a whole career of having short films and going to Black festivals, African, regional festivals all over the world, and forming my audience there and being able to get feedback from those people, which was a lot more valuable to me than actually even going to the bigger festivals where they don't quite get my work and they're not quite sure what I'm talking about and who are these self-actualized Black people that you keep bringing on, and I didn't have to explain myself. So it helped to sort of build my confidence. It helped me to build my voice, to like find my voice of like what I was trying to say without having to constantly explain myself in ways that you kind of have to do when you're creating for white audiences. And I think there's something really valuable about having our communities and investing in those communities too. People talk about, for example, investing in like Black HBCUs. It's the same idea of investing in our Black film festivals, investing in our Black talent and your friends, like the people that are on the same level with you. There's definitely something a lot fancier and, sparkly about having connections to people who have big titles and big studios. But there's also something really important about here. I mean, Erika was talking about being an assistant and being assistant to somebody, or somebody else's assistant got bumped up and they remember you because you were probably the one who helped them with those photocopies or did this, that, and the other. It doesn't have to be like a glamorous thing that you met at, but she knows your work ethic. She knows that, you're a grinder. She knows that you're going to stay up and get that job done. And, like those are the things that count. And those are the people that they want in your corner. And so they're going to take you. Pierce met Roxy and was like, I remember you, I know you. So I know that I can vouch for you. Here we go. It's not necessarily that they met at some fancy party. And I think that that's something, together with the resources that are now a lot more available to us. There's no limit to what we can do in terms of creating our own stuff, including our own audiences, and being able to market and sell and do it. And maybe it might look a little different from sort of the traditional avenues, but
Yeah.
that's fine. The money looks the same.
Right.
I would love to just share something that really changed for me. Coming off Ugly Betty, I was the only Black writer in the room. It was extremely isolating and lonely. And so off of that, I always wanted to meet other Black writers, but I didn't know where they were. I had a couple of friends, but I didn't know many. So a couple of friends, we got together and we said, like, we should just like start a group. Let's just start a group. Like, where are the other Black women? Let's start a group of other Black women writers so we can all meet. And so our first meeting, there were 12 of us, and we'd have it at a friend's house, and we made it a brunch, and we'd drink, and we'd be there for like 5 hours, sharing stories, giving each other advice. But it was really just community. It was really just, just so you know you're not alone, just so you know, like, I experienced this in the room. Did you experience this? I have a crazy showrunner. Like, how do you deal with that? Or I have someone who's stealing my pitches, or I have, they're going to rewrite my script. What can I do? It was really just a place to go of like like-minded people where we could just fellowship and build each other up. And then we could all go back out into our jobs and try to conquer and keep going. And so now that group has over 100 members. But I say that for people, and the group is called Black Women Who Brunch. And so, and we had like this photo shoot in the Hollywood Reporter, and it was super dope. But it really started with just a need it was a selfish need. Like, I don't know any other Black women. I really want to meet some other Black women who are writing in this industry. And a lot of times people will, send me messages or like, oh, I want, do you have a writers group? Let's be in our group. And I really feel it's important for people to know that you can start your own group. The people who are your peers are the people that you're going to come up with. Like, that's your power.
Yes.
There's power.
Yes. Yes.
We didn't realize
Yes.
our group has power. Now we have, we look out for each other. Like 99% of the group is working, and the ones that aren't working don't want to work. It's their choice, but that's not how we started out. So you have to find, Ekwa touched on that too. You don't have to meet someone at a glamorous place. A lot of times it's the people that you're coming up with. Those are the people that you need to get with. Those are the people that you need to make your community. And stop looking ahead, stop trying to find the person that's already made it.
They don't need you. Yeah.
They don't need you. They can help you and give you advice, but you really need to get with your peer group.
Yeah.
That is how you come up together, and that build that community, and then that's how you continue it on, and then you pass that baton. You always look back, but I feel like people overlook that a lot of times, and that is an important step.
I think Jay-Z said it. He said, I make sure everybody in my clique is rugged, because if we fall, we make sure that we're each other's crutches. And that line has always stuck with me, and just making sure that the people I surround myself are of strength, power, influence, with purpose and integrity.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I'm in Toronto now, working on the Umbrella Academy, their 3rd season.
Congratulations, Roxy.
Thank you. And I turned down going back to Blackish for this show after leaving The Harder They Fall, which was an all-Black cowboy Western that we just did.
Which my makeup trailer was on.
Yes, it was. Red Rhino. And it was very difficult looking for people whenever I'm department heading, whenever I have to build a group of people around me so we can all work and produce proper hairstyles and make the characters come to life. And same thing on Blackish. For me, I like to hire the underdog and the person who is the artist that people overlook sometimes. Like, just because you're not hot or you're not with the clique of people, those folks get pushed to the side all the time, but they're actually really good artists. I have a barber that's out here with me now that just got in our union. People don't know him, but he's so in love with like the barber industry. He'll go to barber shows and he'll win it and he'll do all this great stuff. And he's learning step by step how to key, how to do wigs, how to do updos, being here, I was purposely looking for people, just looking through resumes, because I don't know anything about Toronto. I've never been here before. So the producers would tell me, oh, hire this person, hire that person. I said, well, I don't just want it to be someone from Germany or someone from Spain. I just want to see what work can they do. And I ended up hiring 4 people. 2 of them are Jamaican. And speaking to them, they were like, you know what? We rarely get hired. We don't get hired out here. When you look around, people are overlooking us, or it's so hard for me to get in the union. And their union is totally different from our local 706 in California. And I thought it was really sad, you know, to see that people are still getting jumped over and overlooked. And I'm not sure if it's because of race, or if they don't know the certain people, or if they're not a part of a clique. But to look at the beauty of their art and know that we're all artists is what I was searching for and hiring. And same thing in Santa Fe on Blackish, my key, Tanisha, she was a third. You know, she worked on a lot of things and did a lot of background. And I saw something in her that I wasn't getting in this key that I had season 1. And I love her to death, but I wasn't getting what I needed from her. So Tanisha, that second season, she became my key. And then Kenya Barris came out with Brownish and was like, Rox, I need somebody. I can't have you department head, but who do you think would be a good department head? I was like, well, shoot, Tanisha does her hair on Blackish. I think Tanisha should be the one to do it on here. And he's like, well, has she ever department headed? No, but she knows Yara. She knows the story. She knows the paper mill of what he has here, you know. And I told him, I was like, I'll work beside her while she runs the show for the first season, you know. And he trusted me on that. And Tanisha's soaring, and she's been doing so much stuff. And I bring that up to just say, if, especially for us and what we do, Pierce and I, a lot of people are being overlooked because they're not down with a certain clique or certain people. And there's so many people just waiting to get tagged in, you know. And once you give them that chance, including myself, I'm not with the clique of people. It's just, I've just been lucky enough for people to call me and ask, hey, do you want to work on this gig? Or I heard about you. And it's normally from an actor or a friend, you know. It's not a clique thing, but it's really hard for us to succeed when you're not the shiny penny or the shiny nickel. You know, people overlook just the natural beauty of what you have to offer. So that question really hit with me because it happens to us all the time, you know.
I just sort of moved to say, one of the things that I'm loving hearing when you're talking about what is Black excellence, you know, and Erika touched on this, and we're all touching on it in different ways, is this idea of community, building community, sustaining community, making sure that we're not the only one. You know, you getting someone, Roxy, a department head, but gonna give of your time to be sure that they succeed. So Black excellence to me, inherent in that, and I think someone else said it, is trying to have us all sort of come up together, those of us who are like-minded in terms of our commitment to excellence, and in terms of our commitment to our artistry and our craft. You know, it's a beautiful thing. The first time that I got to put a writing staff together, a showrunner of Queen Sugar, was a really kind of interesting and lovely experience for me. And I think for the people that I ended up hiring. I don't know that I did this on purpose, but almost everyone I hired was a little bit of a vet, had a little bit of a, you know, had been beat up just a little bit, and things like that, because I had assessed the needs of the show. Queen Sugar is a show that runs off of, certainly from the writing perspective, just runs off of passion and emotion. So I was like, that's what we needed in the writer's room. And so I was looking for, it was like, who loves this show, or who loves characters, and just who loves Black people and want to pour into that. And that was outside of obviously looking at your craft and your script resonated with me. I was then looking for, who wants this? Who even maybe needs this, you know? And I was also looking for some people with some life experience, because, you know, there are lots of big personalities on TV shows, and I can be one perhaps sometimes. And I was like, who can not get thrown so easily? you know, not mistake themselves for the event and understand that the show itself and the purpose of it is larger than any of us as an individual, including myself as a showrunner. And, you know, and so it's been beautiful to sort of watch, you know, some of the writers that have rolled through that writer's room. Doesn't get talked about as much, you know, because we do this incredible work flag waving for directors on Queen Sugar, but the writers that have come out of Queen Sugar, Erica Johnson, who's an executive producer and just killing it, who's on this panel, you know, Monica Macer, who, you know, just got nominated for a Peabody Award, you know, for running Hintified and just ran, kind of broke down some barriers at CBS as a Black woman showrunner, you know, and they haven't had a lot of those, you know, and MacGyver, you know, my producer, a Latino woman who I hired as a producer on my show, who was having trouble, she would tell you, I'm not speaking out of school, getting arrested when I hired her, jumped from my show. She's now show running a show on the CW, like just skipped all over that. You know, Felicia Pride, who's out there, you know, killing it, you know, and it's just, and it was all of us.
Kay Oyegun.
Kay, I mean, you can't get a job unless you check with Kay first, you know, because they probably offered it to her first, you know, who, you know, and it's like all of these fantastic people, and we all, you know, when things got tough, just held hands with each other and formed community. And one of the ways that I knew that I was ready to be a showrunner before I even got being a showrunner was this community piece. There's like this informal advice network among Black showrunners and executive producers where I'm leaving the office. Maybe I've had a good day, maybe I've had a bad day in the writer's room. Ring, I get a call from a showrunner, another Black showrunner. They're like, hey, I'm dealing with XYZ. Have you ever dealt with XYZ? How did you handle XYZ? You know, and vice versa. And I was getting those calls before I even was officially a showrunner. So I was like, people were just starting to see me as someone who had some knowledge that I might be able to help. But we can't be the only one, you know? And so all of us are invested in each other's success. And that to me is Black. That's Black.
That is truly amazing. And that is the title of the panel today. Black excellence behind the camera.
Yes.
You know, in TV. Yeah. And I think, Jihan, you want to add something before we close out?
Oh yeah, I think one thing that I like to do, and it's really as like a paying it forward for all the people who helped me along the way, because it took quite a number of years before I got my first job, is my first job was actually Alan Ball's assistant for Here and Now. And it was through that room, and I befriended those writers who, when I first actually heard of staffing for Underground Railroad and things like that, and they were so instrumental in that. But one thing that I learned being his assistant was how to put together an original episode of television for cable streaming, and how to put together a whole season. And like I had sort of gone through all of my notes, and I was sort of writing it down. I was like, oh, this is like a method. And so I went to Alan and I was like, you have like a method of like putting together a show? He's like, I have a method. So I taught him the Alan Ball method. I was like, this is what I like. He's just like, oh my gosh, this is great. And so I asked him, because he's somebody who walks the walk. I was like, would you mind if I taught this to marginalized writers who are sort of up and coming? And he was just like, absolutely, go to town. And so I, through any of the writers rooms that I'm in, I like to, for the ones who are like working really hard and like hustling and trying to like actually do the work, I'll offer to sort of teach them that class. And I just tell them that when their sort of time comes, they should just like pay that forward. Because often they were just like, oh, can we get you like this or that? And I'm like, I just want more people who look like me in rooms, and this helps. Like, this is sort of gives you like a step up in terms of like, here are these tools, and I gather different learning. I gather whatever I learned from different shows and like sort of add to that. And that has been like a huge sort of beneficial to me, because I get to like anytime you teach, you learn. And it also is, I feel like they end up sort of creating like their own sort of a community as well of people who like, I'll have them invite their friends. And so I'm really sort of always trying to find ways to help like the next person behind me if I can, and it's really exciting to watch them like then get staffed, and just sort of checking in with them, and even just them sending me like their pilots to read. I find all of that really exciting because it's so hard as a writer. Like you are very alone in a lot of ways, and it just feels like impossible to get in, and once you do, it feels impossible to stay in. And so I think a lot of what Erika is saying about like just trying to create community, I feel like that, and coming up with people who are around you, and really that is not something that you feel like you understand going in, and it's so important. And I think with sort of the writer's assistants and the other assistants in the shows, it's like, you guys are this is your group, like go forth. And yeah, and so I really enjoy doing that, and I feel like I'm just so thankful for anyone who's helped me in any little way, because it's always like something small too that you don't know, like a friend who like vouched for you for a job who didn't tell you, and then later like, oh, so and so really loved you, and I was like, oh, that's great. And so because like that third party validation is so huge. And then I just, yeah, anyway. That's sort of the ways that I think that.
I feel like we have to, I don't know if we're ending. I just wanted to say one thing, if I could, because this is so important. Like what Erika's talking about community, an important thing that I think we're all doing is sharing. So if something comes to you that you can't do, but you know somebody else who can do it, and what Jihan is speaking to is television, film, entertainment is a very conservative business. That's why people would rather hire somebody they know who may only be okay, rather than take a chance on somebody who's going to be amazing. And so what Araxi is talking about is so critical, to see beyond these rooms. But part of what we can do is get people into those conversations so that they can be spotted and seen. But the other thing that Anthony said a while back is, he had the chutzpah to go up to the president of ABC Family, but he also had the goods. And what we need to do is, beyond getting people to just show up, is to make sure that they're ready when the call comes. Because what I see a lot is diversity efforts stop at getting people in the room. They don't take that next step, which is to tell them how to do the job, or to let them fail, or to let them experiment and figure it out, or to do that mentoring. This is how you do it. Nobody wakes up, is born knowing how to write a TV show. Like that's a skill that you have to learn. These are, like, why are we the only people who think we're supposed to be born knowing how to do it? You have to do that. And sometimes it's very hard to do. I can't put my reputation on the line hiring everybody who comes up to me who I don't know. So, what I'm trying to figure out is too, like, how to give people those experiences in a safe way so they can come through and then be ready for that call. And so, like, I love hearing all of you. I think in documentary, I don't know, I think maybe we actually have a lot more to learn, because I think, like, so often in what I do, you get one shot to get it right. So the stakes are so high that, you can't like take that chance, because you may not get a chance to film with that person again. So, so figuring that out is the challenge for me. But building our own community, like that is, crucial piece of this.
Well
said. Hey, Jazz. In the spirit of what Dawn just said, community, sharing information, taking your shot. A part of that is just informing. And what I want to do now is take an opportunity to inform my peers here that I'm probably the first and only Black man to create hair makeup trailers for film and television. I currently own 3 makeup trailers. My company is called Red Rhino. I have 2 53-foot 10-station trailers, and I have a 46-foot 8-station trailer. And they are the finest makeup trailers in the history of film and television. So I invite all of us to please just be aware that your brother is out here doing that.
Yeah.
On a whole new lane, on a whole new avenue. and I'm building 4 more this year. So I'm growing.
Look at you, Tyler Perry of makeup.
You know, when you're,
You gotta do
I'm
it.
just trying to take
do
advantage
it.
of opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gotta
you know,
do
because when you write something, when you produce something, and your talent goes to a subpar environment, to be prepared for the character that you created, you know, that doesn't do a service for any of us. But when they can come to a sanctuary and they walk into a space that they feel appreciated as hair and makeup artists, as talent, you know, where they can be prepared for their character and sink into and develop people, we all feel appreciated. So that's
Great.
you know, that's my
And
story. To get to it.
I'd like to
There you
shout
go.
out the Black TV Film Collective as well, that I've been on the board of. And that's a collective here in New York. We represent all 3 boroughs, I mean, all 5 boroughs and some of the outer states. And we have over 1,300 Black filmmakers, writers, directors, editors, you know, makeup people, etc. And a lot of it has to do with inviting people like you to come in and share and get us ready, getting each other ready. And those are people that I've worked with on my projects, and that's how we came together in the beginning, similar to Women Who Brunch. Like, we got together to try and figure out how to make each other's work, and then grew and grew. And so I will be contacting all of you.
Love it. Love it.
Thank
Well,
you.
I mean, I'm sure everybody here tuning in would love to hear from you, because it was so inspiring, so informative, and your stories is the definition of excellence. So thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Ekwa. Thank you, Jihan. Thank you, Erika. Thank you, Araxi. Thank you, Anthony. And thank you, Pierce. And of course, thank you to Comic-Con for this conversation. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, family. Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
and
Thank you.
be
It's a
sure
pleasure.
to check out the bios. Seriously, check out the bios, check out the shows, because there's an incredible body of work in this panel. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Congratulations to
Thank you.
all.
Thank
you.
you.
Everyone.
Nice
Thank
meeting
you,
all.
everybody. That was
Thanks,
great.
everyone.